I think people get so caught up on getting the perfect portfolio or buying the perfect ETF that tracks an index fund when there's 3 of them and the difference is just not going to make a difference in 30 years. But the fact that they haven't invested for 2 years because they've spent all this time thinking about what they were going to invest in probably has made a difference.
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Anna Christina from Perla. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast,
where we take you from beginner to confident investor.
where we can teach you everything you need to know about investing.
So come get rich slow with us.
Hello and welcome back. I've got Olivia from Her Money's Worth with us again. We did such a good episode before on her money journey and buying a property and investing and finances with her partner. We discussed so much stuff. So definitely go have a listen to that episode if you want to know more about her. But today we're going to be talking about decision fatigue and how to avoid the comparison trap when maybe your friends are spending money, or how to talk to your friends about money as well. But first, money win or loss. What do you have today?
Thanks for having me again, Tash. Very excited about today's episode. Money win is the fact that I have been using the 10% off at Woolies with the Everyday Rewards.
Yeah, the Everyday Extra subscription.
Yes. So if you've got the mobile phone plan with them, you then get an extra 10% off your groceries.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So do you have the membership that you pay for and the 10% off?
No, I don't have the membership that I pay for. I have the mobile phone plan.
Okay.
And I think they're changing this soon, so don't quote me. But if you've got the mobile phone plan, you get 10% off your shop. I think it's 10% or is it 5%?
Maybe 10. I think it is because I think you can stack them.
Yes.
I guess Emma from the Broke Generation did sponsor content on this recently.
Yes.
We could maybe do both. Yeah, because I have the membership that I pay for, so I get 10% off with that, which is good.
Yeah, no, if you've got the mobile phone plan and the mobile phone plan is also really good, you get that off, and I've been using that and I used that yesterday.
My phone is with Aldi, but they have kind of trapped me because they have data rollover and I've had them for like a few years. So now I don't want to move because I don't want to lose all my data, even though I know I'm probably never going to use my 200 gigabytes that are just sitting there. But I feel like they've really like got me stuck.
You in.
Yeah.
That is a good way to trap you actually, because I don't think Woolies do that. But Woolies is very, very cheap.
Yeah.
So if you're not using a prepaid SIM for your phone, get one.
Yeah. Aldi's good.
It's my advice.
Because they're on the Telstra, they use the Telstra network.
Yes.
I think Woolies, do they use Optus or Telstra
I think Woolies, hold on, I can look at my phone. I think they use Telstra as well.
I want to move, but like I don't want to lose my data.
Yeah.
So beware
Money
of
dilemma.
the traps. I find this when I try to cancel things as well. Like when I try to cancel like your Audible and it's like, oh, but do you want 1 free month and you can stay, or 3 months half price? And like they really get to me, but I know the psychology behind it, but I'm still like, the value.
I literally speak to this when I go into schools and I talk to them about financial literacy. We do this whole thing on subscriptions and talk about how trapped you are, and it's crazy. They ask you like 4 times if you want it free or cheaper, or they make you go onto a desktop. Like,
yeah,
it's
and then they
so
hide the
hard.
button. Like they put the cancel off to the side and you're like, okay, where is it? It's gone. They've moved it. It's like white. I can't read it.
This is if you can even find the process to start. It's like impossible to cancel anything.
I don't know if it's a money win or loss yet, maybe money loss soon. I moved to Melbourne, which is very exciting.
Yes.
But I got movers and there was so much drama with the movers. So it is definitely a money loss. Gosh, I forgot everything that's happened now that I'm thinking about it. But they picked our stuff up on a Monday and they said it would be in Melbourne on Tuesday afternoon. And then at 4 o'clock on the Monday, they rang and said, oh, you have to be in Melbourne by 6 a.m. the next morning. And we were planning on driving.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Yeah. Well, they told us we either had to pay for local moving costs and storage costs if we weren't there at 6 a.m, but didn't tell us how much it was, or I could meet them there. So I ended up flying.
Oh my goodness.
So I booked a flight at like 5:30 and went straight to the airport.
How much was the flight?
Not too bad. It was $170.
That's okay.
And then the hotel was $140. So the $300-ish that I wasn't expecting to pay.
Yep.
But the worst bit was when we got here, they sent me an extra bill because they took too long apparently. So they wanted to charge me an extra $360 for going over the moving time.
Oh, as in to bring it into your house in Melbourne?
Yeah. But then they quoted me the wrong times and I had told them that like they were speaking about like someone else obviously, and then they came back and they're like, oh no, yours is only $200 extra.
That sounds a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, I haven't paid that and I'm ignoring them for now. I need to call them back, but I was like not dealing with it because I was so tired. Like I couldn't sleep that night and I had to be up really early. And you know, when you like have something on the next day, your brain wakes you up like every hour. seeing if you've missed your alarm.
Yeah.
So I was like tired and I was like, I'm not dealing with it. But if you are moving anytime soon, make sure to check the time allowance at pick up and drop off and see if that's realistic, and like read the T's and C's really closely to see what sneaky things there might be. And they didn't mention like what the extra charges would be beforehand, but I would get that in writing because they kind of just like seem to whip them out of nowhere.
That's really interesting because I would not have thought of that before.
No.
Or that would be the case.
And we quoted them every single thing that we had. Like you fill out a list of like 4 dining chair tables, like 1 desk, 1 3-piece sofa or whatever it is. They know exactly what you have.
Yeah.
And I told them about the apartment and the lift and like the walk to the car, and we reserved them as spots. It's not like they should have been surprised about how long it took to pack it up.
Shouldn't they know? Because you tell them what they have and what the situation is.
One of them wasn't working that much initially. Like it was like he was just sitting in the truck for a bit. So then I feel bad because I'm like, oh, am I doubling them in?
Yes, yeah. But then also don't charge you extra because they took a long time.
Anyway, fun times.
Yep.
When we were planning this episode, Olivia sent me a TikTok that I thought was really interesting. So we'll have a quick listen now and then we'll chat about it.
I find this comment so relatable because it's something I think about myself when I see other girls on this app, especially girls who are similar age to me, who sort of work that 9 to 5 and have a lifestyle outside of work. It's sort of a hang on, like, how can you afford to lead that lifestyle and maybe I can't afford to lead that lifestyle? And something I always talk about with my girlfriends is just, it would be so nice to have a bit more level of transparency just to sort of understand how they might lead it, because it can be a little bit sort of deflating or just a bit like, hang on, like, what's missing here? And I suppose in the spirit of being transparent, like myself, like I have an Afterpay account. I've had an Afterpay account for I don't know how long. I use Afterpay. I don't really shop brands like Henny or Camilla and Mark or Vic and Woods. If I own anything from those brands, I've bought it secondhand or I've bought it at a warehouse sale. Even Dish, which is I suppose a little bit more of that mid-tier brand, I've probably bought from them 2 or 3 times full price, and I buy their stuff from a charity shop or through secondhand means. So I'm not shopping these brands at full price. I go to High Street Armadale, I might spend $50 at Mecca, but I'm not shopping the boutique brands. So it's just like, I don't know, I feel like there is a level of, we show you what we want you to think our life might lead on TikTok. Like I feel like some of those videos are very like that, aesthetically pleasing. And I guess just, this is just another girl from me to you that's not the reality of it. I don't shop 24/7. I don't shop these really expensive brands. Spending $200 on an item of clothing just doesn't seem worth it for me. I do have savings. I could spend my money on it, but I just choose not to. I shop brands like Glassons and Cotton On, and I find the sale section in the Iconic, and I leave shit in my cart for days on end and half the time it's sold out. So I didn't buy anything on that Iconic wish list video. It's still sitting in my cart and I probably will never check it out because spending that amount of money just is hard for me sometimes. So yeah, that's just a little bit of reality behind the scenes, but I totally understand where this comment is coming from. And I feel like it's just something that we all struggle with sometimes, especially on this app, watching other girls like you and I.
The comment section is really interesting in this.
Is it? What's happening?
Interesting TikTok. So much to say. I feel like I have to write notes before I forget.
Yeah.
One of the main comments is, I loved one of the Shameless Girls outfits and shorts that cost $600. Yeah. Interesting.
I think that's very interesting, just on the Shameless Girls and just other people that are in those sorts of roles, because I think what happens sometimes is we see them at the start of their journey, perhaps 5 or so years ago, and what they're wearing, and then we see them sort of into their business when we know that it's sort of taken off and done well and what they're wearing, and there's definitely a change with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard because there's obviously like tall poppy syndrome in Australia where people don't want to talk about their success, and I think women especially often downplay their success. I've found I almost, I'm not in the same situation as the Shameless Girls at all. I'm not making huge amounts of money, but I still find I sometimes want to play down success a little bit so you don't get hated on. Yeah. So I guess it can be hard if you someone's playing it down a little bit, you assume they're not that wealthy, and then you see them wearing these $1,000 outfits.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think I actually saw an article with the Shameless Girls, and I love the Shameless Girls as well, by the way, that they basically said that they could never talk about their financial success. And I guess someone that's obviously interested in business and paying attention to finances and the way that things work, you can kind of see the growth they've had, the podcasts they've put out.
They've got so many employees now.
The employees they have.
I try to do the math sometimes, being how much, what's their minimum ad revenue?
Yeah, and the outfits they're wearing are obviously gorgeous. So it's really interesting, and I think we'll probably talk about that in relation to the TikTok. I like to unpack that and, see that success, and it's really interesting to me. But yeah, it's interesting that, you know, someone's like, oh, they were wearing a $600 outfit or whatever it might be. Because I think, you know, at the start of the journey, that might not have been the case. And I guess we expect people to continue to be related to us in terms of their finances, but maybe that's not the case if they have, you know, great success.
Yeah, well, I think we assume most people are similar to us until you see otherwise. Like I was saying in the other episode, like I think everyone's my age until they tell me otherwise or until it's very obvious that they're not my age. But yeah, it's like you assume people might be in a similar position to you. Well, I do anyway, until you're like, oh, actually, no, they earn $300,000 and I earn $100,000. Like, and then you can kind of piece that together. But it is really hard to, I think especially on social media these days, you are exposed to so many different people living so many different, amazing, different lives. And I think overconsumption has been normalized a lot, which is a whole different conversation to have. But it is hard when you're seeing like people doing these clothing hauls and traveling a lot, and you'll never really know how they've paid for that.
And we just have access to so much of that information now. We're seeing people in these lifestyles that are just potentially not attainable for us and thinking that that's normalized, whereas 10 plus years ago, like we weren't seeing it at that level. So I think that can definitely, and like that TikTok was saying, you know, how are these people affording this lifestyle and I can't? I think that's really breeding into that. And if you're not, I guess, talking about like breaking down and working out, you know, people's incomes and how they're affording things and really thinking about that, if you're not doing that or you haven't sort of trained yourself, which maybe we have, into thinking about that, it can be really easy to fall into that comparison trap and sort of start wondering why you can't achieve the same things or buy the same things.
And thinking about where someone's come from, like our journeys, we started investing ages ago. We've already bought property ages ago. Like we've been on this journey for a while. So it's really unfair for someone who's starting now to compare themselves to us. But even when I see people doing better than me, there's kind of like many, like I love seeing people's success and I love thinking like, oh, that's amazing. How did they do it? How could I do some of that as well? But also just being aware of the factors, like, are they in debt? Maybe they have no savings at all and you do. Maybe they are working a really stressful job that pays a bit more than you though. Like maybe they're sacrificing a lot of other stuff. Even where you live too, like, do you want cheaper rent? Do you want to live in Perth or do you want to like live in Sydney and have the jobs that come with living in Sydney? Like so many other things that go into it as well. And it's good to just step back and be like, do I really want this whole person's life? And like, what are they not showing me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly what she was sort of saying in the TikTok a little bit as well. And when I saw that TikTok, I was like, I think there's only really 3 things that, you know, mean someone else is having a different lifestyle to you. Like I think they're either not saving and you are, like you just said. So I think that you might think, oh, I'm saving for all these goals. I want to buy a property. I'm investing, but why am I not wearing the same clothes as this other person? Maybe they're just spending their entire income. I think they've got a much higher income, like you just mentioned as well. So I just wanted to talk about that. I think in friendship groups, if you sort of aren't having these intricate, transparent conversations with your friends, you may not know that the person that you're friends with has had a promotion at work and they're earning a lot more money and now they can afford those things. And I think the other thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about is their parents are supplementing their lifestyle in some way. So
parents or a partner.
Parents or a partner or whatever it might be, or they've got an inheritance from somewhere else that they haven't shared with you. And I think that can be a really big, interesting one because I think a lot of people, you know, think it's, well, they didn't get a house deposit, but maybe they're getting supplemented in some other way. Like maybe they're on their parents' health insurance or their parents are still paying their car rego because it's registered with them or something like that. So there's other things to think about when you're weighing up the whole situation.
And if you don't have those extra costs to pay for as well, like I know some people have to support their parents, whereas like, for example, in my situation, I don't. It's like that's a cost I don't have, but maybe you are supporting other family members or like a partner. Maybe you're the one supporting your partner as well. Like there's so many things that can go into it and it's so hard to look at one video and be like, wow, why do they have that and I don't?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think it can be difficult sometimes to work out which one of the reasons it is unless you're having that transparent conversation if it's a friend of yours. And I think people do feel awkward about talking about it. A lot of people still don't want to be transparent about those things. So it can be hard to identify sometimes.
Yeah, and you don't need to like know exactly why. Like I think it's just to be like, oh, it could be any of these things. And I think it's dangerous to be like, to fixate on what they have and you don't. To be like, oh, well, their parents have helped them so I could never achieve that too. Like I think it's good to be like, oh, maybe they've had more help than me. Cool, I'm going to move on now. But I notice some people do get a bit stuck comparing and being like, oh, well, I don't want to try now because maybe I will never have that kind of success. I think it's good to focus on what can you take from that. And like even just close your phone. Like if you're getting to this point where you're like, oh no, everyone's living a better life than me.
It's time to get off TikTok.
Yeah. And people only want to share the good parts usually.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I think we know that now. But I think like what you're saying about that, it's that saying that everyone like would say to you at school, like hard work beats like talent. What's the saying? It's like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Oh,
like
okay.
I think it's the same. You didn't hear that at school?
No.
Oh my goodness, I heard that all the time, even as a teacher. But I think financial literacy and, you know, working hard towards goals and I guess for being really strategic will beat someone getting, you know, a bit of a leg up from their family or, you know, having a higher income than you if they're not doing the right things with it. So if you're earning less and doing the right things with it and being really strategic, there's a chance that you might actually do better than that person that's getting a leg up.
Yeah. How do you personally avoid comparing? So you go through and you're like, oh, okay, maybe they earn more, maybe they have all this other stuff. We're in different situations, that's fine. But if you're still deep down being like, why can't I do that? What do you do?
I think it's really hard, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert or that I don't do that because I still do. I think a lot of it comes with age. I'm 31 now. I'm probably much better at not doing that and maybe being a little bit more aware that I need to get off TikTok if I'm starting to feel like that, which I do often. So I think some of it comes with age, but I think some of it can come down to spending a bit of time just reflecting on your own values and your own journey. And some of what we've talked about in terms of, you know, thinking about why other people are in their situations, that can help to an extent. But I've definitely found focusing on like what I enjoy and what I want to spend my time doing and what my own goals are, because I've realized as I age, some of the things that I was spending money on when I was younger were to, I guess, you know, try and be like other people or do things that other people are doing. And now I'm a little bit more happy with, you know, doing what I want to do and reaching my own goals. I'm not, I guess, fixating as much on what other people are doing. So it's helping me to sort of stay focused on my own goals, but then I'm not feeling pressured to, I guess, spend on what they're spending on.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that one. Like having a really solid vision for yourself and knowing your identity and why you're doing something. Like I found that really easy when I was younger to be like, I'm a frugal person and I spend my money on travel. And that was really easy to justify not doing a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're really, I found it like even more, a bit more now when you're unsure, like where to go next in life or what you're really excited about or what you want to spend more money on or like what you want to save on. Yeah. It's hard to see everyone else doing all this other stuff and to know why you're not doing that too. Like I don't enjoy fashion that much. I find it overwhelming. I don't really care too much. I don't enjoy just browsing. So I'm not going to be like, I don't like those $600 shorts because I would have no idea that they're $600.
Yeah.
But it's like the holidays or the travel or like, how are they flying business class 10 times this year?
Sure. It's funny you say that about fashion because that's definitely something over time I've evolved with. I think when I was younger, I definitely spent a lot of money. Like I said, I was a short-term saver in the last episode and I would save for like an outfit or something as well. But now I've gotten much more comfortable. Like I've sort of got a capsule wardrobe. Like I know what suits me. I know what I like. So I don't get as drawn into, obviously I see things online I like, but I'm not as drawn into being like, okay, I'm going to buy that right now because I must have it because I've seen it on someone or my friend. I'll easily, more easily be like, okay, that doesn't suit me, so I won't worry about that.
I do it sometimes when I saw a dress with pockets the other day. I'm like, wow, that's like I need a dress with pockets like that. But I only buy things when they're on special because everything goes on special in the end. Yeah. So we'll see if it goes on special.
Yeah, that's
but if not, hopefully I'll forget about it.
Yeah.
Great. So you close the TikTok app. We try and remember other people have different situations. They might have gone through lots of other stuff. They might have saved really hard when we've been prioritizing other things. Like priorities are different. We focus on our values. Is there anything else?
I think that one of the things, once you've done all of that, if you are feeling, I guess, you know, like you're comparing yourself or even like you've got that like sting of jealousy if someone's doing something that you want or they've got something that you want or they're flying business class or whatever it might be, there's potentially a bit of a sign that that is something that you genuinely do want or you genuinely do value. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think sometimes, you know, I try to remind myself if I'm jealous of something that someone's doing, then maybe that's something I should actually be working towards and taking action to realize that I maybe could achieve that and putting steps in place to get there. Yeah. So I think that's, you know, all of those strategies are really good, but maybe sometimes it's about thinking, actually, maybe I could do that or I could strive to that goal.
Yeah. And I know it's like really easy to say, just get off the internet, but I think like it helps so much. Like if you're having an overwhelming time and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not sure. Like just like log off and have some time to think about it. Like do some stuff in the real world. Like I definitely spend way too much time on my phone sometimes and you really can feel it when you're like, wow, I need this new water bottle, which I don't need, which kind of leads me into something else I wanted to chat to you about. Yeah. I saw a TikTok you posted about not being able to decide between a Frank Green water bottle or what to watch on Netflix, like how are we supposed to decide on what to invest in? And I was like, I relate so much. This is amazing.
Honestly, I was trying to buy a Frank Green bottle because I was like, I'm going to treat myself because I haven't had a nice bottle and I wanted one for my new job because I was going to be traveling for my new job and I was like, I need something that's good I can just throw in the car. And I think I had to give up a couple of times because you honestly have to log on and pick the base, and then you have to pick the top, and then you have to pick
the
straw.
push button versus the straw.
There's like
and then I was reading
3
things
lids.
about like you can't
3
clean
straws.
one. Yeah. I've tried before and I still haven't bought one.
Yeah, it's quite stressful. I did end up buying one, so it went
What
okay.
did you pick? Straw or push button one?
I've got, it's not even, it's like a push back one.
Oh,
and it
there's a
flicks
third.
up.
Okay.
There's like 3. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not that new straw one, and it's not the push one. It's like a flick straw up.
Okay. And how did you arrive at that decision?
Oh, it was hard. I think I actually posted it on my story to ask people what they thought about the color, and then I got a vote, and I think I went with it. I think it's like a moon dust. It's a new one. And I just thought it went with the capsule wardrobe. It's like a tan.
Okay.
That's how I arrived at the decision, but it was extremely stressful.
And then that's one decision out of how many? And now what are you going to watch tonight on Netflix? Who
Exactly.
knows?
I'll spend half an hour trying to decide, and that was the half an hour that I wanted to watch the show in.
Yeah.
So the half an hour's now gone because I was deciding, but it got us thinking that this is exactly the same as a lot of decisions that you're making in the finance world.
And I think you just have to do it. Like there is a time and place to plan and be really organized and to know what you're doing, and like don't just rush into buying some random crypto, of course. But there is a time where you just have to buy one. And I do this with hotels and flats quite a bit, where I want to try and optimize it to be the best possible deal and the best location with like the best amenities and the coolest pool and like the best flight times. And then I will not end up booking it. We'll have wasted 10 hours planning it, and then it will be double the price in 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
And there's so many of those times where you're like, I just need to do it.
Yes.
With investing too. Like how perfect can you get your plan? Maybe you should just try and buy one.
Yeah, absolutely. We did the same thing when we just got back from Europe. We spent the whole time, like when we were booking, agonizing, and then in Greece particularly, and then once we actually got round to it, it was only the really bad stuff or the really good stuff, and we ended up spending way more than we actually wanted to. And it's exactly the same with investing. I think people get so caught up on getting the perfect portfolio or buying the perfect ETF that tracks an index fund when there's 3 of them, and the difference is just not going to make a difference in 30 years. But the fact that they haven't invested for 2 years because they've spent all this time thinking about what they were going to invest in probably has made a difference.
Yeah, and then you haven't spent your time learning and experiencing what it's like and like making those changes.
Absolutely.
I think it's good though for online shopping, because when there's too many choices, I just don't pick something, which is great because you don't need to do that. But yeah, for investing, I think you kind of need to get over that hurdle. Just pick something. Same with Netflix. Like when I sometimes watch, just like click on a random show, like I've watched some of my best shows that way, and I never would have picked it just from like looking at it and Googling reviews for half an hour. But yeah, it is really hard these days to have so much information all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're almost going, and I guess this is probably why I started creating content and probably why you started creating content, because there wasn't a heap of Aussie finance content. And I still don't think there's heaps, but there's a lot more than there was. And there's definitely a lot coming out of other countries. And now it's almost getting a bit confusing. Like there's so much.
So many more platforms. When I first started, there was like ANZ E-Trade was what I started with. And you bought like one ETF, and there wasn't all the fancy ones too. And then there was like Raisin Spaceship, even just for micro investing. But now there's like Perla Micro and Sharesies and Comsec Pocket. There's just so many more platforms out there, which is amazing to have them compete and bring people better products. But yeah, it's hard if you're like Perla or Comsec or NAB Trade or whatever it is. And then also, should I microinvest or not microinvest? And then which ETF do I pick? Like it is a lot.
It is a lot if you're a beginner and you don't, and you're trying to get started because you want to learn. And I think that's what we say, just get started. You'll learn as you go, start small. But I think if you are worried and you do have concerns about investing, and then there's all these overwhelming choices, you don't want to almost maybe feel silly and make the wrong decision. And then you spend too long like reading books or reading podcasts, or when the most powerful thing you can do is actually just get started and learn as you go.
Do you have any strategies to overcome that for any of this stuff?
I spent a long time learning, so I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with learning and listening to podcasts and books, because I think with knowledge you do start feeling more confident and you do dispel a lot of those myths that we hear all the time about investing. But I would say just, pick one. I think it's really difficult to say like there's no one better than the other. So I don't think I've got any strategies if we're talking about brokers.
Yeah. Mine is more like just generally for getting stuff done and making a decision is setting a time frame or telling people about it. Like I tell people, I've said online now that I'm going to buy another investment property. So I can't procrastinate it for too long. So there's so many little steps involved in that. Because people are aware of it and will ask about it. And if you tell like a family member or like a friend, hey, I'm going to do this in the next few months, they might follow up, which is amazing. But same with like making decisions, like putting that in my calendar and being like, cool, by this date, I will have done this thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I think when it's things like a broker, you can just sign up and have a look and they're free and you can just see if it works for you.
Yeah. Like if you're like, I'm going to spend a week researching brokers and then by Sunday at 5 p.m. I'm going to have picked one. And it doesn't matter if it's the wrong one because you can change your mind, but like treat it like a job or a gym class or something like that.
I love that. I probably need to get better at that myself, to be honest, in terms of setting
the Frank Green thing.
and setting timelines, maybe putting things in my calendar.
I do like my calendar.
Yeah, that's good. Which calendar do you use?
I just use Google Calendars.
Oh,
I tried for so long. I loved writing stuff down during uni. I loved a paper diary, but it got hard like changing things around when like your shift changes and you have to cross it out. And when people started sending me calendar invites for meetings, that's when I kind of moved over to Google Calendar.
Okay, so
but now everything's in there.
Yeah. Put in your calendar, pick a broker, and if you want to pick one.
Easy to not overcommit if you're realistic. Because before I was like writing huge to-do lists that weren't realistic, but now you can literally like see how much time you have. And you're like, actually, like I've got 10 things on today. Like I don't have 10 hours. Where are they going to fit? Where
are they all going to fit? I think I saw it's Simran from Girls That Invest. She's shown hers a few times and she literally would just like block out every moment of time, even like lunch or break or walk. And I thought that was cool, but I never did it.
Even if you don't stick to it, it's good to like know that you have that time free. Otherwise I will just like feel every minute of my day because I'm like, oh, who needs a lunch break? Like, it doesn't matter. Always things to do. So schedule it, tell someone, and maybe have an accountability buddy. Do you have any friends that you talk to about money?
Honestly, I don't have that many.
Oh, interesting.
And I was thinking about setting this for a little bit of a goal in where are we? We're in 2024, in 2025, because I've had so many people that I've either messaged myself or that had messaged me being like, let's catch up, you know, we're doing a similar thing. So no, I would like more because I think that definitely getting in the room with people doing a similar thing to you on a similar journey is really, really, really motivating.
And there's so many things you don't, like it's so easy to just cruise along in life and not urgently do stuff and not be like, I need to go and do this. But if someone around you is doing it, I find that's the best motivator to be prompted to do something. Like if someone is investing and telling you about it, you're like, oh, that's like at the front of your brain. I forget things if they're not brought up regularly. But if people around me are talking about like their businesses and increasing their income and buying another property, then my brain is like, oh, cool. Like these are all things I can do and I probably should be doing as well.
Yeah, it normalizes it too. When you're in circles of people doing things that you want to be doing, it normalizes it and makes it seem like it's possible for you to do it as well. So I think it's definitely really important.
Have you, kind of like changing track a little bit, have you had a friend who earns a lot more than you or spends a lot more than you?
Probably maybe when I was a little bit younger, but not like a crazy amount, I don't think. It's sort of just been like maybe like 30, 50K more. But most of my friends are very good with money. I'm probably the friend that's talking about investing all the time and growing money and that kind of thing. But lots of my friends are pretty good in terms of saving and buying property and things like that.
Yeah. I've had a few conversations recently or like people have messaged in some questions around like how to spend less when you're out with your friends or how to deal with those money conversations. And I was trying to think about like what I've done in the past, but I think if you are the one to take charge, it's a lot easier to control what you spend. Like if you're the one to be like, we're going to this place for dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Then you know how much the menus are and you know if there's any specials or you can like kind of pick places with deals. I think that makes it a lot easier, especially if you're with someone who's in a different tax bracket.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I've been quite lucky with my friends and maybe I've like really pushed probably in the last few years conversations with my friends in terms of about money and being really transparent. So I feel like I would generally know like if my friend's trying to achieve a goal or they're going through like a bit of a sticky patch, like trying to be aware of that. Like my friend and I, we were looking to book somewhere to go away and I sort of knew that one of my friends was doing something with her money at the moment and I messaged the other friend and just said, hey, like let's just be mindful because we know that she's doing this and, you know, that might be a lot of her money is going towards that. So, and then we just both said like, yeah, cool, like we'll just be aware of that. So I think if you've got those good relationships with your friends and you're pretty transparent about what you're doing, being aware of their money situation and how much they might want to spend and what they might want to do is pretty considerate.
Yeah, and saying it up front as well. I'm planning a trip with my friend recently, but they are on a bit of a tight budget. So we're like, we want flights and accommodation under $1,000 each.
Yeah.
But then that was really helpful because now I'm only looking at things that fit under that budget. So it's not like a big surprise later on down the track where I feel like I've wasted all my time. It's like, okay, cool. I know the boundaries now.
And I think people generally respect that as well. Like if you say like I am on a tight budget or, you know, can we do this? Can we go for a picnic or can you come over for dinner? Like I've never really had issues with that with people. They've always been really receptive if you're transparent upfront.
Yeah. And if they're not, maybe they aren't the best friend ever.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they're not someone you want to be.
Or maybe they're like just a bit jarred and we need to like slowly.
Yeah. Or maybe they just have, I mean, I say I haven't really had like issues in terms of like finances and transparent conversations with my friends, but I've definitely found myself knowing that a friend has had a different perspective and a different background and maybe doesn't like have that awareness of other people. Like I think I'm quite good, but yeah, and I think that can be difficult to navigate sometimes, but just having that empathy for the fact that maybe some people, you know, have grown up differently to you, do have a different perspective, like that's also good to be aware of.
I'm in a bit more of like a spending season of my life at the moment, and I've tried to be more mindful of that because a lot of my friendships have been a bit more frugal based and trying to like I want to do a bit more stuff now and I've got a bit more disposable income and I'm not focusing on investing as hard like currently in the current 6 months. But it gets really interesting having those conversations of like, oh, do you want to do this or should we like do the free thing instead? Or do you want to come over or do you want to get a smoothie bowl? Or like I'll buy you a smoothie bowl if you want to come with me. I'm trying to be mindful of those things too.
I think having those options is good though. Like, do you want to do this or do you want to do this? Because then it gives like someone else an out if they kind of are like, oh, I'm having a bit of a frugal week or something. Then it gives them like that option to say they want the other thing. Because I think we're happy to talk transparently about finances, but not everyone is.
Yeah, and it can be very challenging.
Yeah, and you can encourage them to an extent, but I guess you don't want to be forcing your friends to, I guess, have those conversations if they're not comfortable.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Like I said earlier, we've got another episode on your journey, so everyone should go check that one out. And they should come follow you at, is it Her Money's Worth?
Yep, at Her Money's Worth on Instagram and TikTok, same handle.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invest or me at Ana Cristina.
This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info.